Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being so patient with us today as we work through some technical difficulties with our training. But this is our kickoff GoGuardian Teacher training. All of these resources will be available on our website, edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org. Introduce myself. Hi, I'm Rebecca Smekla from the Department of Ed Tech.
And my name is John Shoemaker. I'm also from the Department of Educational Technology.
I'm John Long, and I'm also with Educational Technology.
Shu, can you kick off our housekeeping?
Sure thing. Thank you all for joining us today. We've noticed a lot of activity over there in the chat box already, so thank you for that. That's going to be where we communicate with one another. You can ask us questions, and we'll share it with our GoGuardian team at the end of the session. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Down below, there's a like button, and then feel free to subscribe as well. We hit 5,000 subscribers just before the holidays, so thanks for that. If we do have any EdTech team members in the chat, they'll have a wrench next to their name. They're our happy moderators. And then don't forget to share over in social media in that top right corner at EdTechPBC or hashtag ETPBCPD. Anything that you're doing, we'd love to see what you're doing in your classroom, and we want to amplify your voice as much as we can. So go ahead, Rebecca. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, John. GoGuardian Teacher is a classroom management tool that provides a real-time view into student online activity, control over devices, and a variety of ways to deliver instruction. And Mary Alice is going to go through all the cool things you're going to be able to do with GoGuardian. So I'm not going to steal her thunder. I'm just going to jump ahead real quick and let you know we are on a tiered rollout schedule for GoGuardian. So today, January 4th, all of our middle schools will have access when you click that tile. On the 10th, our high schools and alternative schools. And finally, on the 18th, in 2 weeks, our elementary schools. So we are doing a tiered rollout just to mitigate any technical issues that may arise with such a large district that we have. Please note, this is only going to be rolling out to managed Chromebooks at this time. So any devices that maybe your CTE students are using, a Windows device, those are not going to work at this time, nor will it work on any personal devices. Okay. And this is going to affect the training and ELM. So if you are on the rollout for the 10th or the 18th, please wait to log into ELM if you want to take this course. We are offering an asynchronous course. You can earn 10 in-service points by taking this course. Name of the course is pretty easy, GoGuardian Teacher. You just have to go through that course in order to get the in-service points. Again, wait until your release date though. And how do you get to GoGuardian Teacher? So there is a tile in the school district portal. You would click that tile and it's going to log you right in using Clever. Alternatively, you can navigate to teacher.goguardian.com if the portal is down for some reason or you may not have the tile. And with that, we're going to jump into our Google Meet that we're having with Mary Alice because we were having some technical difficulties with her. And I'm going to introduce her and we're going to get started with this training. So let me pop in.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us during our technical difficulties. This is your GoGuardian Teacher training, and I am your product trainer today. My name is Mary Alice, and I'm a former elementary school teacher, and I'm really happy to be with you all today and share with you what GoGuardian Teacher can do in your classrooms. Our goal together today is to make sure that you feel confident navigating GoGuardian Teacher basic functionalities. I'm going to share a lot of those with you today. And as I do so, I'm going to give you a lot of practical use cases, some different scenarios and ways that you can use those features in your classrooms. Here's our agenda. We're going to start, of course, at the beginning. How do you get set up and running within GoGuardian Teacher? We will also take a look at our commands. Commands are those direct actions that you will be able to do on your students' devices. We also have lots of data that saves and stores, so we'll touch base on our reporting. And then before we leave today, we're going to look at our filtering systems that you are able to put in place in your classrooms, which will allow your students to have certain accesses to certain websites when you'd like them to. We will have time for question and answer. Because we're streaming this a little bit differently today, we'll be taking those at the end. So, a little bit about GoGuardian. We are on a mission to unlock the potential of technology while helping to block harmful and distracting content. So, the goal of GoGuardian is really to help you gain insight into how your students are using their technology and their devices. So, now you'll be able to easily see where they are going during your class time and what you can do to help them use their technology in an appropriate manner. We're able to do those things through the use of two extensions. On my screen today, you're going to see those extensions in the bottom left-hand corner of my slide. But on a student's device, those extensions will be in the upper right-hand corner where all extensions live. And here's the best part about them. They're super easy for you to use and your students to use. You are not going to have to do anything extra. Someone else in your district is going to take care of that deployment. And for the extensions to be up and running in the background with your students, they just need to make sure that they are logged in with their school issued email. And then GoGuardian Teacher will be up and running in the background on their device. For you as a teacher, it is going to be web-based. You don't need any extensions to have those up and running. As long as your device has the internet, you'll be able to see what's going on. With GoGuardian Teacher, you are going to have more time to teach and less time spent managing. So in addition to getting all of that great insight, that really is to ensure that you do have more time to teach and less time spent managing technology and devices. So now you'll be able to quickly and easily identify if you have any students who are having an off-task behavior. You'll be able to help them get back on task and gain back that lost instructional time. We're going to spend a lot of time in a live demo environment today. And before I get there, I want to front load a little bit of vocabulary for us. These two terms I'm going to use a lot today, so it's really important to know what they are before we go look at them. Our first one's going to be our classrooms. Classrooms are your groups of students that you can monitor at any given time. These are going to mimic your existing classroom roles, your rosters, your periods, your blocks of students. And if you're familiar with Google Classroom, it's got a very similar feel as to each one of your classrooms would have a different tile. We also have sessions. Sessions are the set amount of time that you'll be actively monitoring students within that classroom. So your classrooms are your groups of students themselves, and your sessions are the times you'll be monitoring those students and their devices. So as I did mention, we're going to head into that live demo environment. Couple of things for you to know before we head in there. First of all, my students that I'm going to be sharing out with you today are not real. It's important for you to know that for a couple of reasons. First of all, they may go places they shouldn't go. They may stray away. They are meant to do all of those things. They're actually just computers that sit out in California, and they are running all the time so that we have plenty to be able to show you and model with. The other reason it's important for you to know that my students are not real is because we do take student privacy at a very high priority at GoGuardian. So I'm not sharing out anything today that I can't share out with you. I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to switch over to a different tab now, and I'm going to show you how to get set up and running within GoGuardian Teacher. I am going to kind of go through this a little bit quickly right now. If we have time before we leave today and you would like for me to walk back through those steps, I will be happy to do so. So I am at GoGuardian Teacher. To get here, I just went to teacher.goguardian.com. The first time you do log in, everything's going to be blank here, and that's okay. Really important part of my job today is to make sure you know how to get your classrooms up and running. So you have a couple of ways that you're going to be able to do that. I know you all are using Clever. I know you're also using Google Classroom. So the good news is if you're using either one of those, you have a very easy way to get up and running within GoGuardian Teacher. So the first place we're going to start is in the upper left-hand corner where it says Classrooms. If you're doing your Clever sync, your Clever classrooms will be waiting for you in this pending tab beneath. They will all be sitting here. All you need to do is accept the classrooms that you need, and then they're going to shift up to your active tab. That's it. Super easy. So Clever sync is in this pending tab to the left-hand side. To the opposite side of my screen, you're going to notice an Import Google Classroom icon. So if you're using Google Classroom, this is where you'll want to click. Here, you should see your Google Classrooms appear. If for some reason you don't, that's okay. Just click right above to reconnect, resync everything up. Then they should appear. You can select them all or the ones you need to pull over, and then click the blue Import Classroom button. Again, very simple process. Now, while we're in this upper right-hand corner, I'm going to shift gears over to this green Add Classroom button. If you ever need to set anything up manually, let's say it's not a roster that lives in Clever or in Google Classroom. Maybe you have an after-school tutoring group, something of that nature, or you want to create a subgroup within your full class. You can have the ability to set up a classroom on your own. So all you would need to do is click that green Add Classroom button, name your classroom. We'll just do an ELA block today, and select a subject area, of course. And then you can also add a description if you would like. It's not required, but if you choose to do that, I want you to know that your descriptions, they remain behind the scenes. They're not going to be forward facing for students, so you can be as specific there as you need to. And you also have a classroom color tile in the bottom right-hand corner that you can swap out if you'd like to make all your classrooms a different color to help you see the difference between them. After that is done, you click the blue Add Classroom button at the bottom. And then you're going to be prompted to add your students in. But remember, you only need to do this step if you're creating anything on your own. If you're syncing over from Clever or Google Classroom, this step's already going to be done for you. So 3 ways, though, that you can add students if you need to. First way is to use a code. Pop the code up in front of the classroom, ask all your students to join that way live. Middle option is for you as the teacher to add individual student email addresses. And then the last option is to upload a CSV file. If you are not familiar with what that is, it's just a fancy way to say a spreadsheet. You would have all of your student email addresses listed in one column, and then you can drag them in all at the same time. After you have added your students, they will appear here on your student roster list. I'm just going to give you a quick lay of the land because I know I'm not in the same spot I was before. I'm just within that classroom that I just made. So here's my classroom title in the upper left-hand corner. Right now, I'm currently on my students tab where all my students would be listed out. And a couple of notches down here in the same column, I have a teacher tab that I want to make sure you know about. The teacher tab is where you can add any co-teachers in, okay? A little clarification here though. If you're syncing from Clever and you have someone already rostered with you there, another teacher rostered with you there, that teacher is going to pull on over automatically. If you are syncing from Google Classroom and you have someone already co-teaching with you in there, or of course, if you're making anything on your own within GoGuardian Teacher, you would need to manually add the co-teacher. So Clever Sync, that teacher is going to come on over. Anything else, you'd want to set that up manually. So we're going to walk through those steps really quickly in case you need them. The upper right-hand corner now has a green Add Teacher button. We're going to click on that. And then it's very easy to add whoever you need to. So all you would do is search for anyone within your organization, and then you'll select a classroom role. There are 3 choices here: an owner, a teacher, or a helper. Now, you might not know what those are. Good thing is you don't ever have to memorize what the difference between them is because we have a built-in cheat sheet, as I like to call it. So if you're not sure which role you'd like, hover over that I, click Learn More here, and you are going to be redirected to a Great Help Center article. Here's why it's so great. If you scroll down just a little bit, you've got a permissions chart. So now I'm easily able to see what access an owner has versus a teacher versus a helper. So after I've taken a look at the chart and I've decided exactly how much permission I'd like that other person to have, I can just pop back over to GoGuardian Teacher, select that role for that person, and add the teacher. Then you'll see that person listed out here. If you need to add anybody else, you can just repeat those same steps. There is no limit to the number you can add. Just want you to know that. But of course, you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. So keep that in mind, but you can add as many people as you need to. All right. Now we're going to head back to our main page. This navy navigation bar to the left-hand column has these icons that make it really easy to get around. So to get back to my classrooms, I'm just going to click that classrooms icon. We're going to pretend hypothetically that you've had time to set up all your classrooms, right? So you've got that Clever Sync, maybe that Google Classroom Sync, maybe you've even had time to set something up on your own and get those co-teachers in. So in that case, it means you would be ready to start a session. Now, sessions are the times you'll be monitoring your students, right? On your classroom tiles, that session time appears in the bottom left-hand corner. It will always default to 45 minutes, as you can tell, but you're not stuck at that. You can click the drop-down menu and you'll see a wide range of other time blocks that you could pick from 30 to 90 minutes. And then we also have a custom end time option. So maybe you're one of those teachers who just has one roster all day long. You don't have 5, 6, 7, 8 classes up here. So in that case, you might need longer than 90 minutes, right? You might need an entire session for your entire morning. So you could set up a custom end time to have it end at your lunchtime. So you would just start the class, have it run until 12 p.m., for example, and you could repeat those same steps for your afternoon if you need to. Today, however, I'm going to leave us at 45 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and start a classroom session with my students. It's going to take them just a second here to get up and running. I'll make them nice and big for you. And while they are getting on board here, we're going to talk about our chat functionalities. So you may have noticed that little chat had an option to toggle off or on before I started the session. You have that choice, of course. You can wait and turn it on after you start your session as well. So that would give you a little bit more time to get situated in your lesson, before students start asking you questions. So if you want to leave it off initially and turn it on later, you'll find that button in the upper right-hand corner where it says chat. Just shift it from off to on, of course. And now each one of my students is going to have this chat flag that is available. So let's say I'm to that part of my lesson. I've turned it on. I'm expecting everyone to start their independent assignment. And I take a look out and I see that Gabby hasn't done that yet. What I can do, I can try to zoom in a little bit more. Is that better, Rebecca? Perfect. Okay. So I'm in this chat and we're going to switch over here to Miss Gabby. Let's pull that back over. And we're going to say that maybe Gabby has not started her work yet. I've noticed that. So what I could do is click her chat flag. I am now able to send Gabby a direct message like, hey, Gabby, do you need any help getting where you need to be today? And send. So when Gabby gets that message, it is going to appear in a separate window, something that looks like this. Okay, so they have a chat window. All they have to do is click into that window. And now I've opened up a direct line of communication with a student, which is really helpful, right? And to give you a little extra peace of mind, who can talk to each other? It's only from teacher to student and student to teacher. So you don't have to worry about your students having side conversations with each other through GoGuardian Teacher Chat because they cannot do it. Now, we talked about that chat flag in their icon tile, but I want to show you one other place that the chat functionality lives. That's the bottom right-hand corner here. You'll see a chat widget. And that will actually ping if you have a student who sends you a message. So you can click on it. You would be able to see your full roster of students. Right now, all of my students have a green dot, but if anybody had a message waiting for me, it would then change to this yellowish orange color. I could click into that student and again, continue that conversation. One other thing to point out in this sidebar is a neat little feature that I want to make sure you know about today. It lives in the upper right-hand corner, and it's going to be this megaphone. You might like this. This megaphone will allow you to send an announcement to your class. Announcements work a little bit differently than chat. Chat's going to appear in that separate window, and then the student can choose to respond to it or not. When you are sending an announcement, that message is going to pop up in the middle of the student's device, and everything else that they're doing on the internet is going to be paused. So they can't do anything until they acknowledge that message that you've sent. and it's going to function no matter where your students are. So if you have some that are working in the library or the hallway, or maybe they're at home because they have to be on quarantine, you could send the same message for everyone. Like, we have 5 minutes left. Let's go ahead and start packing up, wrapping up everything for the day. Click that send green announcement button. It's going to send to everybody. Same message delivered, loud and clear, middle of their screen, and they can't do anything else until they have acknowledged that message. So you have a couple of great ways you can communicate within GoGuardian Teacher. And now we're going to start to look at these student tiles. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you can see a little bit more here. Each student does have their own tile. This is called our screens view, pretty obviously named because you can see everyone's screen in your classroom. At the top is the student name. The largest window that you're able to see is the current tab that the student is working from. And if you see any other icons at the bottom, like Beckett has a ton down here, these are going to be extra tabs that the student has open. Now, some of those icons are always really easily recognizable, right? We all know that YouTube logo. We all know the Google logo. But sometimes there might be something there that you're not quite certain of. So if that's the case, what you can do is you can hover over it. You're able to get a page title, the website, and you can decide if it's something that needs to be open, right? Yeah, we're using Tween Tribune. I just didn't recognize that T logo, so that's good to go. But I noticed that Becca here also has quizzes open 4 times at least, because she's got 4 more tabs open as well. So what I'm understanding here is that Becca's done a little bit of happy clicking. So I can just hover over that. I can close the tab out, and I can remove some of that clutter from Becca's device and take away a little bit of that extra stuff for her. I can also click into the student, and I'm going to zoom out just a bit so we can see that full section over here. I can also see, once I click into the student, a full list of tabs that are open. And from here, I can also close tabs out as well. So it looks like we've done some happy clicking on Pear Deck too. So we can go ahead and support that student by closing out some more tabs. Now, this action that I'm doing, closing the tab, that's what we call a command. Commands are those things that you're able to do on your side of the screen that will take effect on the student's device. And closing a tab is just one command that we have to support your students. When you are in a student tile directly, at the bottom is where the other commands live. So I'm going to briefly describe all of these, as some of them I'm going to model right now with Becca, but some of them I'm going to hang on to and show you how you can do them with the whole class if you need to, because you have that option with some of them. So first thing you can do down here at the bottom is excluding a student. If you have a student who leaves the classroom, maybe they need to run to the bathroom or they get called up to the office for some reason, you can remove their device from being monitored. And then when they return, you can pull them back in if needed. Next, we have the ability to open a new tab. This is pretty self-explanatory. It will open a new tab for a student. You can do it individually, like for Becca, if I needed to get her where she needs to be, or I can do it for the whole class, which is a huge time saver. So I'm going to hang on to this one, and I'm going to show you how to do it in just a minute with everybody. Next to that, you can lock a device. If you choose to lock a device, it will let you send a little discreet message. So maybe I need to say eyes up front, or come see me please, because I need to give you some extra support. And then their device will lock. It'll look like that. They can't unlock it. You have to unlock it when you deem that it's time to unlock it. So we're going to say we'll unlock Becca's now. Next to that, you can take a screenshot of a student's device. Works great on both ends of the spectrum. So if you need to celebrate a success, capture the moment. If you need to document a place that should not have been accessed, of course, take a picture of it as well. And screenshots do save and store. So I'll show you how to find those before we leave today. Last but certainly not least, at the bottom is our annotate command. This is our newest one. If you click on that, it will help you support your students, and you can actually click on the screen and it will appear on the student screen. Now, the annotate feature is going to come in handy when you have a student who is exactly where they need to be. They are on task. They are with you right there. but they don't see where to click. Maybe they don't see where to hit enter or submit or log in or open a new doc. So what you can do is take your mouse. Right now, you'll see mine is nice and big and hollow, but all I have to do is click where I need the student to look, and then it will be filled in on their device. So maybe I need for Becca to go ahead and enter a code. So, of course, Becky didn't want to do that for me today. So let's come over here and see if Afshin is going to play nice. Let's annotate. Maybe we need him to open his waffle. There we go. And so now Afshin has that filled in. So that is now going to appear on the student side for about 10 seconds before it disappears. And if that's not enough time, if the student doesn't see where to click, you can always click again, or you can do multiple steps and multiple colors if you need to. Pretty much whatever you need to do to support the student to be successful on their side of things. So let's close out of Afshin now. And let's start looking at how to give commands to more than one student at a time. So we just looked at an individual way to give commands, but let's say I need to lock a few screens because I need to call a few students to come speak to me. If you need to do something like that, you'll just click the little checkbox in front of the student name. All right. So just that little checkbox. And then I have my foot bar pop up at the bottom where I can do the commands that you see down here. So these are my command options that I can do for more than one group of students. So maybe I need to lock these devices, but I don't want to send a message, something of that nature. Okay. So you have that ability as well to send commands to more than one student. The other thing that you can do, which is a really great time saver when needed, is send a command to your whole class. So if you need to lock everyone's screen, maybe we're getting a little bit rowdy and we need to redirect and refocus everyone, you can do that. So right above your first student tile, you're going to see this little checkbox. That is the magical checkbox because when you click it, it will pull in everybody in class. Okay, so I am going to show you where that button was one more time. If you need to select everyone on your roster, you'll look right above your first student and click that little checkbox. Now I've got everyone pulled in. I've got my commands again at the bottom here. And this time though, I'm going to open a new tab for everyone in my class because it is a great time saver. How about those times when you've been in class and you need everybody to get somewhere, but it's not bookmarked, or you didn't anticipate you were going to need to get to it? It's just a teachable moment. You know, it's going to take a long time for everybody to type that out, and maybe someone's going to type something wrong, and then you're going to wait a long time. It's not a good use of instructional time, right? You don't have to worry about that anymore because now you can open a new tab for everybody in about 2 seconds. So all you would do is copy and paste the URL in and open the tab. After you start to do that a couple of times, you'll get some recently used options. So today for us and our purposes, we're going to use Discovery Education, and we're going to open that tab for everyone. Take a look. Everyone's going to be redirected to Discovery Education. Took me about 2 clicks of the button and about 2 seconds. And then I don't have a lot of wasted instructional time. We're moving swiftly through the lesson. We're getting as much covered as possible, and everybody's on the right page. Should be, right? So our screens view that we've been looking at is going to be really good for your synchronous learning when everybody should be on Discovery Education working, for example. And then if you see someone like Neil down here or Jacqueline down here who's off task, I can just give them a command and get them back on task really quickly. Screens view, however, is not the only view that we have. So right now in the upper left-hand corner, I'm on my screens tab where I'm able to see everyone. Great for synchronous learning. But next door to that is my timeline tab. And this is going to be really great functionality for any time that you can't be right at your computer screen, which is probably a lot of the time. Timeline view is going to be really good as well for your asynchronous learning, where you have students on lots of different sites. You might be at the back table teaching. You might be walking around supporting your students. You are not going to see everything all the time, right? This view, timeline view, is going to give you that extra peace of mind to know that the goal of GoGuardian Teacher is not to have you stuck behind your computer screen being the internet police. It does free you up to support your students, to circulate, to teach as you always have, and know that you've got your timeline view to go back and look at things should you need to. So timeline view to the far right has a now column, pretty self-explanatory, where your students are right now working, current tab. Across the top are times, and eventually you'll get to this arrow that will take you all the way back to the beginning of that session. So it's keeping a record of everything, and it's going to give you a good aggregate of what was going on during that session. What if, though, you start to notice trends? Like maybe Justin is starting to tell you after every block, he just didn't have time to get his work done. Well, now you're going to know what Justin was doing with his time. Maybe he was on YouTube consistently. Maybe he was on gaming sites, things of that nature. So, yeah, you probably didn't get your work done. If you're noticing that, a trend week after week or day after day, you're going to want a little bit more data than just one session. And that is where our individual student reports are going to come in handy for you. So let's head there now. In my left-hand column over here at the bottom, there's a student reports icon. And this is where you'll select the classroom that the student is in. And sometimes it takes a minute to get these reports loaded, but I'm going to walk you through the steps and then I have one preloaded for us. So I can select a date range. It'll default to today, always the day off, but you can do custom date ranges should you need to, or quick options at the bottom, which are great for like the last month, the last 2 weeks. And then you just click view report and it will populate that report. Now, sometimes it does take a second to gather all that data. So I did have a report already loaded for us. This is just Jeff here in December before the holidays. And I can see at the top a lot of data. Okay. So at the top, we have our top 5 websites, top 5 documents, top 5 Google searches. Beneath that, you will have an intervention box. Interventions are those things you're doing with a GoGuardian teacher where you're having to intervene and support the student to help them stay on task. So every time you lock a screen or open a tab or close a tab, it's keeping a record of that for you, which is really great, right? And it's also going to tell you the number of blocked website attempts. So you've got lots of information here that can help you really dig into how a student is using their time or how you are helping the student use their time. Now, the blocked website list, you can have a full list of that if you're wondering what was trying to be accessed. So if you scroll to the bottom, you'll have a detailed browsing history here with a timestamp, page title, URL. You will notice if the page was blocked, it will say restricted or blocked in the page title, and the website will also say blocked. Now, you should be able to click into that if you need to do a little further investigation. It should not be blocked from your device. So just keep that in mind. In between those two sections, this is where your screenshots would save and store if you've taken any during that time frame that you selected. They just appear linearly and you can toggle through them to see the full spectrum. Another great thing to point out about our student reports is they're very easy to share. At the top, you can email the report to yourself, to a colleague, an interventionist, your administrator, even if you needed to share them with a parent at a parent-teacher conference. This is an easy way to do that. And great thing about it is when you get the report, it's still going to look beautiful like this, easy to read. It's not going to shift into some weird spreadsheet. Okay. All right. So that has been a lot thus far. We are not done yet. We're going to touch base now on a next feature. And this one might be one that you kind of grow into. Okay. So if you're not quite ready to bite this off yet after I show it to you, that's okay. I'm also going to show you a place within the platform itself that has some tutorials that can walk you back through it. So Seams is a set of filtering rules that you're able to put in place for your students to follow. We have 2 versions of those. We have allowed website list and blocked website list. First, I'm going to show you how to create each of those, and then I'm going to show you how to use them within your classrooms. So let's head back to our demo side of things. To create your scenes, all you have to do is come in this left-hand column and click that scenes icon. And here are our 2 versions, which I'm going to explain in depth in just a moment. Before I do that, I want to point out those resources that I alluded to. The upper right-hand corner has a little tutorial video for every step of the way. So if you don't remember anything I'm saying today, you've got some great built-in supports that will walk you back through. All right, we're going to start on the allowed website list side. Allowed website lists are very restrictive in nature, meaning everything on the internet is going to be blocked and only what you allow will be allowed. So students only have access to the websites that you have allowed and said are okay. So great ways to use allowed website lists. Anytime that you're quizzing or testing, or it's a certain block of time or a certain assignment where you know exactly what you want the students to be focused on, and you want to make sure all those other sites are not an option. So what I'm going to do is walk you through how to create a list from scratch. So I'm going to click create list. For today and our modeling, let's just make a testing list. I can also give it an optional description. Maybe this is my quarter 3 benchmark test today, and I could swap out the tile color as well if I need to. Upper right-hand corner, there's that tutorial for this step, and I'm going to click next when I'm ready. And now I'm going to build my list. All right. Couple of things about building lists. It's really easy to do it. Very intuitive. The only thing you want to be really intentional of when you are creating an allowed website list in particular is you want to think through what your students are going to be doing during that time, because you need to add the websites so that they have access to get to them. So I'm going to think through my testing time. My students are going to take their benchmark on Achieve 3000. So I'm going to come in this search bar and I'm going to search for Achieve 3000. I'm going to pull up some options. All I click is add, and then they are added to my list to the right-hand side. So I've got my testing link. How are they getting to that test? They are getting to that test through a single sign-on. So got to think about those two. Clever, or if you had it linked within your Google Classroom, you'll want to make sure that those things are added. So I'm going to search for Clever here, and I'm going to add Clever. So that looks pretty good. All right, I've got my testing link. I've got my single sign-on, but I want my students to warm up before they test. I need to get those gears turning. I'm going to do that with Pear Deck because I know that can really help them get our gears turning before we test. I could easily search for Pear Deck just like I did everything else. But next to this blue search button, there's a green quick list option. So if you click that, there's already collections of websites that have been clustered together for you that you can grab all at one time. So some of these can be formed by your district. Some of them are already formed by GoGuardian. So in the GoGuardian list, you'll notice the G Suite. So if you ever need that, it's already grouped together for you. And down at the bottom is Pear Deck. The number next to the title is going to be the number of websites in the list. You can click the drop-down menu to be able to see what those websites are. Those look great, so I'm going to select them. And now over to the right, I have an auto open option that appeared. That's really hard to say 10 times fast. The auto open option is really similar to opening a new tab for your whole class. So think of this as a way to push the website to the students as soon as you start your lesson. So you're taking away that weird transition time. So if we're definitely starting with Pear Deck before we test, I'm going to auto open joinpd.com for them. And then I'm going to add to the scene at the bottom. And now I've got my list formed. We also have at the bottom of the list an option to limit the number of tabs that are open for students while you have that scene applied. For an allowed website list, I'm not typically really worried about how many tabs are open because they can only have access to the ones that I've added. But you do have an option to switch that down here if you need to. When everything's all set, you click Save at the top. And then you will see that list appear underneath the side that you created it under. So let's switch on over to blocked website lists now. These are much less restrictive, okay? They are more like guardrails for web browsing. They're still going to limit, they're still going to restrict, but basically students have access to anything they need to, except for what you have specifically added to the list and said is not okay to go to right now. So as you can imagine, popular things to add here are going to be social media and gaming sites. And they can work really well anytime you just have asynchronous learning, where you need everybody to be in lots of different places, or group projects, research projects, things of that nature. You will create the list just the same way. I'm not going to walk through all of those steps because it is just the same process, but I am going to click into one so you can see what it looks like. Here I've searched to form my list. To the right, I've got my quick list options again. And I'm going to notice lots of social media and gaming on my site, but you might also see things like coolmathgames.com, abc.com. Those aren't wrong for children to be on. They were designed for students in mind, but I've already noticed those websites trickling into independent assignment time, and that's not what I assigned. So if you're noticing some of those things as well, feel free to drop them in here. Tab limit is also at the bottom. You can adjust that, make a max of 9 if you would like, and that would, eliminate that happy clicking, 20 tabs, 30 tabs open at any given time for students. Back at the top, again, tutorials on this side if needed, and I'm going to click Save. So I've got all of my scenes ready to use. I've got my list formed, so let's go use them. I'm going to go back to my classrooms by clicking this icon. And I'm going to start another class. So I have my whole class, whole group reading, working, but maybe I just want to test with a few students. So I'm going to pull my small group down here, make them bigger for you. Up at the top, this bar here is going to show me my classrooms that are running concurrently. So I can just toggle back and forth between them and keep tabs on my students as needed. So everyone's getting up online here in my smaller group. We're going to use a scene now. The upper right-hand corner is telling me there's no scene applied, but if I click that drop down, it's going to show me my list. So let's start with testing. Everyone's going to switch gears here to our Pear Deck because that's what I pushed to them. I had that auto open option. You will notice that if they had other tabs open that were not on my list, those are now blocked. They don't have access to them right now because they weren't allowed. Let's click into Bianca and take a look at something. You're going to see all those websites that are blocked because they're not on the list. But if you have a student tell you, oh, Mrs. Fouts, I can't get to my Google Docs, and they need access to the Google Docs, maybe you forgot to add it to your list. It happens, right? You do have the ability to make adjustments on the fly. So if I do indeed need Discovery Ed, I can unblock for the class, update the scene, and then those adjustments are made. And that website will be added to the list and saved for future reference too. So you won't have to go back and, adjust it later on. Now, I'm done with testing. We're going to say they're the fastest test takers ever. We're going to go back to our drop-down menu, and I can just switch gears into another one. Let's switch over to a blocked website list, everyday asynchronous here. So I'm taking off that really restrictive environment. I'm kind of just putting on those guardrails. Students are working wherever they need to, except what I've added to my list. Let's click back into Bianca here. I can see that some things are blocked because they're on the list. They're not appropriate to use right now. But let's say that I noticed Bianca shopping on Amazon Prime. Why would Bianca be shopping on Amazon Prime during class time? I don't know. I didn't anticipate that, but I need to make sure it doesn't happen now or in the future. So I can also block for the class from here. If I need to, block a website and update to the scene, make those adjustments as needed. So, best practice with our scenes is to turn them off when you are done with them. So, if I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, click that drop down menu one more time, and I'm going to disable that scene. All right. So, I know that's been a lot. We are to our designated question and answer time. Um, if you also would like for me to walk back through those steps to get logged in for the first time, we can do that with our last couple of minutes as well. But I'm going to give Rebecca just a bit to relay me any questions that may have come in or that are coming in right now so that I can help support you with those. Yeah, sure. Sure.
much, everyone, for being with us today. If you do have any questions, if you want to put them in the chat, Mary Alice is still here with us, and you can't hear me. Can we set up a thing to
We hear you now, Rebecca. You're good.
Thank you, John. All right, so let me pop over and ask Tina's question. Can we set a preferred scene to load at the start of each class period? Okay, let's see.
That's a great question. You can start your classroom with a defaulted scene. So I'm going to show you how to do that. This will also come in handy if you have synced something over and want to change the tile color or change the naming convention or add a description. You would do all of these things in the same place. So let's say you have a classroom tile appear and you want to have a scene. Always start with that classroom, or you want to change the color or something like that. All you need to do is click into the classroom tile and click down to your settings in this left-hand column. So here's where I can make those adjustments to the subject, the description, but you'll also notice that you can default a scene to start. So once you've set up your scenes, you will see them all appear here. And so if this is my science class and I always want them to start with the bell ringer or in no social media, whatever I've created, I can default that to start and update my classroom. And then every time I start that scene, it's going to be applicable. Not that I'm aware of. No, it's going to be on as long as you have it on.
Okay, so Lee, I can answer that question. The only way to get students in is them accepting an invite. No, if you have a class that's rostered in SIS, it's going to be automatically in your teacher dashboard in the pending section. You just have to accept it.
All right. I know we're a little bit ahead of time, but I do want to let you know that once we're done with today's training, I'm going to be sending lots of resources to Rebecca to share out with you all. There are help supports within the platform, so be sure that you know where that is to help down here. But she'll also be getting a copy of the slide deck, which has additional resources linked in it, including our feedback survey, as well as this last link that you'll see on the very last slide I want you to know about. This will take you to GoGuardian University, which is a free resource for you all to have, and it's really excellent. It's got self-paced modules in it, as well as pre-recorded webinars that were differentiated. So be sure to check that out if you need some more support once we are done today. Mhm. Sure. All right. Yeah. Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you everyone for being here. I did see a few other questions in the chat. How do we access GoGuardian if we just go into Google Classroom? Again, if you click the GoGuardian tile in the portal, that will take you to your teacher dashboard, and you can import your classes from Google Classroom right there. So if you already have them in SIS, they'll automatically be there. Or if you don't have them in SIS, you can import them from Google Classroom right there. You can also create your own classes and invite students as well. So those are the three options. Obviously, we recommend using Clever because it's already done for you. It's there. You just click accept and it's in your dashboard. I think all middle schools should have access as of now. That issue that we were having with the classes being disabled should be fixed at this point. So you all should be good to go. Next week, we'll introduce high school and our alt schools, and the following week, we'll be welcoming all of our elementary into the program. So let's jump into the end. We do have another session today at 1 o'clock. This is a repeat, so if you've already been to today's session, you don't need to attend, but tell your friends, tell your colleagues who couldn't attend this morning. We'd love to see them this afternoon. Again, it will be recorded and placed on our website. We also have another live stream today, which is an introduction to the program Paper, which is an online tutoring for our students in secondary, and that'll be at 2:30 p.m. today. As always, the EdTech team, training team, thanks you for being with us. Please stop by our website for more information. If you have any questions, we are here to support you. Have a great day. Welcome back. Happy New Year.